So here we are again, Friday evening, a bit later than normal. I just wanted to recap my 4th week as a founder, and I thought I'd start on the issue of the AI Growth Hub, that old chestnut. So on the 7th of Jan, I completed an application as a call for evidence from the government on AI issues to take part in their sandbox. And with my old lady brain, the menopausal brain with the brain fog, I gave the wrong email to the government application process. And this meant that I had to then try and correct this through an email that was provided by the AI Growth Hub people. And the email said that they would respond within 10 working days, which was 2 weeks later. And on the 11th working day, I thought, well, I haven't heard from them. I'll give them another email just to kind of give them a gentle nudge to say I haven't heard from anybody. And then up until today, I still hadn't heard from anybody. Sorry, up until yesterday. So yesterday, or was it today? It was yesterday. I decided, right, I'm going to phone somebody. So I went online, and I don't know if anyone or everyone knows this, but there's a website called rocketreach.co. And on Rocket Reach, when you register, you get, I think it's like 5 free goes, and you can find people's telephone numbers and email addresses. And there was a government worker who is in charge of this whole hub thing, and her personal email was on Rocket Reach, but not her government email. Well, I thought, I'm not going to send a personal email to this poor lady. I will just see if I can find a telephone number on Google. So I went on Google and I found a telephone number that I phoned, and they told me, no, that wasn't the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. That was actually the Cabinet Office, I believe they said it was. And then he's proceeded to give me a lesson on the separation of powers between the executive and the legislative function, which I didn't appreciate. And I said, but I need the telephone number for the DSIT or the DTI to us oldies. And the young person, because it was a young person, said, I don't have that, I can't give you that. And I said, so are you telling me that you don't have anywhere in your directory system a telephone number for switchboard of the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology? And he just said, I can't tell you that. And so I said, so if one of your ministers, because he was at the Cabinet Office, if one of your ministers wanted the telephone number of the minister in charge of DSIT, would you be able to get them that telephone number? And he gave me this kind of fudgy reply and said he couldn't help me. I said, okay. And then I think he felt a bit sorry for me, or he just wanted me off the line probably. And he gave me the telephone number for my MP. So I thought, right, okay, I will call my MP and see if he can help me out. But in the meantime, I still want to see if I can find a telephone number for the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. And the more I say it, hopefully it will stick into my head. So I found another telephone number on Google and I phoned, and funnily enough, it was the DSIT, but it had taken me through to the press office. And I spoke to somebody in the press office. He was most unhelpful. He didn't want to give me any information. He didn't even want to take my details when I said, could you pass them on to, and I gave the name of the lady in charge of the Growth Hub. And he reluctantly took my telephone number and my name. And then I asked for his name and he gave me his first name. And then I asked for his surname and he very reluctantly gave me his surname. Anyway, I wrote it down just in case I had to contact them back. So this was yesterday. We're now Friday. We're almost at the end of January, and this has been going on for weeks. So I thought, right, I will ring my MP and see if he can help, which is kind of ridiculous that you're bothering an MP to ask somebody in the government to respond to an email. And it's a civil servant at the end of the day. It's not a minister that's going to be calling you. So I called the MP, and his fabulous assistant picked up the phone, and I briefly explained. And you feel really stupid because people have real problems that they go to their MP about. But I didn't know who else to contact. And when an MP, just out of interest, if people have never contacted their MP, when you contact your MP and it's something to do with government or public administration, everybody answers them straight away. It's really weird. If you send an email or you send a letter, no one's going to bother answering you. But when you get your MP to do it, they answer you. So I thought, I'm going to use the MP. Why not? He's newly elected. I'll just ask him. Anyway, didn't get him, obviously, but I spoke to his assistant. And within less than 2 hours, I had an email back from the Department of Science and Innovation and Technology to say that they had received my email from the 7th of January and that they had put the correct email on my application, which is all I wanted. So all of that, just to say, I'm very pleased by it, because then it means that if they do contact me back, and they probably won't now because I've been bothering everybody in government, but if they were to, then they have a email to contact me back on now, a proper one. So that was a good result for this week. The second thing I'm going to talk about this week, which never ceases to annoy me, is Google Workspace. Just the whole Google ecosystem just makes no sense. So when you're on Google Workspace, if you have a subscription, and there is a low-end subscription for £4, and then there's a pro subscription for, I think, £11 or something like that. This is per month, obviously. You get pro versions of their tools. So if you're using Gemini, for example, you will get Gemini Pro version, which gives you better reasoning and a longer context window. And you also get you also get Notebook LM Pro, which means you have more studio artifacts that you can create in the software that are helpful for explainers or mind mapping or even audio. And I do a lot of podcasts to explain my category to people who don't understand it and, to be honest, aren't that interested. But when you send a podcast that Notebook LM software can create for you, it does make it a bit more interesting for them. So anyway, one of the things that I found this week really quite I don't understand it, to be honest, is that if you create something in your personal email on Notebook LM or any other software, it would seem, and you want to delete it, you can delete it and it's gone. And I was in Notebook LM Pro version, and I didn't remember that I was in the Pro version, because when you're on your mobile phone, you're just in the application. You don't always remember to change your username from your work to your personal. And I put in a question about a hotel that my husband and I stayed in on our 25th wedding anniversary. And then when I got back, because I did it on the walk with our dog, because we couldn't remember the name, so we gave Google a whole bunch of clues to try and help us to prompt our fossilized brains for the name of the hotel. And then, where am I now? I forgot what I was saying. So we asked Google this question, and it was Google Gemini Pro. Or was it Notebook LM? I'm getting confused now. Anyway, whoever it was, when you get home and you want to delete these things that you've asked for Gemini, because they can build up if you ask a lot of questions, and I'm someone that asks a lot of questions, if you do it in your pro account, you can't delete things. It's I don't understand. You can have your personal email and you can delete things, but if you use your business email and you want to delete, where did I stay in a hotel 8-9 years ago, you can't delete it. It's not allowed that you can delete it. And even if you're the admin for your workspace, you can't delete it. So I've now got on my business email a stupid chat with Gemini about a hotel I stayed in, which I don't understand. Why would you not be able to delete messages, chat messages? Anyway, I'm going to have to be more disciplined between my work-based Google tools and my personal-based Google tools. And maybe this is a warning or a lesson for other people not to do what I'm doing, which is clearly most things wrong. So that was the second thing that bothered me this week. Actually, first thing that bothered me, but the second thing on my list. Now, the third thing that I did this week, not the third thing, but one of the major things I did this week was I did a cold outreach. Sounds very strange. A cold outreach to 4 men, who are in the insurance sector, because I wanted to get market feedback on D&O Insurance. And for those of you who are curious enough to know what that is, it's just directors and officers insurance. It's like a kind of liability insurance where directors may make mistakes, shall we say, corporate mistakes, and someone has to pay for them, and so they get premiums on their decision making. It's kind of like that. Anyway, it's a risk that is underwritten by the insurance market, and it's a major factor for companies to have to purchase this insurance. And it's a major headache, not headache because it's obviously priced in, but it's a big deal for insurance companies because they are stuck with the bill for the liabilities incurred by directors. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to these chaps regarding AI. So I wrote these email messages to reach out for some market feedback about insurance, this particular type of insurance, because my focus is on directors principally. And nobody wrote back to me, but it was only 3 days ago that I wrote to 3 of them, and only 7 days that I wrote to the previous guy. So one of them actually went to the same university as me, but he's younger than I am by quite a few years. So I just mentioned that in the email as a connection. I don't contact people on LinkedIn because I'm not very au fait with LinkedIn. And also whenever I've seen anything relating to LinkedIn, it's all very kind of braggadocious, young person-ish. I sold 10,000 cars this week. I'm so fabulous kind of stuff, and it doesn't interest me. However, I do know that I need to restart my LinkedIn profile and get active on there, because at the end of the day, what I'm producing is a B2B product, a business to business product. So it's where business people hang out. It's the social media platform for business people, although some hang out on Reddit as well. But yeah, it's something I'm going to have to get used to. So that was that. Fourthly, I'm not going to speak about the EU AI Act today. I know you're all upset. I know you were on the edges of your seats, all one of you that's watching, because you wanted to hear about the EU AI Act. It's actually quite an interesting piece of legislation, but David told me that no one would be interested and that I should not be talking to people on a Friday night about such things. So I'm disappointed that you don't want to know about it. If anyone does want to know about it and can overrule my husband's opinion, please let me know, because I'm quite happy to do a presentation on the EU AI Act. It affects a lot of people, a lot of business people. So if anyone is interested, let me know, and I will do that next time or another time. So that's that thing. And then finally, this thing that I want to talk to you about very briefly is that this week I decided to enter I think it's called a competition, but I'm not actually sure. And it's a competition for the Women in Innovation grant. And what that is women only receive, I don't know if this is still true, but apparently the numbers haven't budged that much, but women only receive investment in their businesses to the tune of, in terms of total equity, to the tune of 2%. So 2% of the total equity available to invest in companies in Britain, only 2% go to women-founded companies, which is kind of ludicrous when women represent the majority of the population. And also ethnic minority founders receive even less than that. So if you're a female and an ethnic minority, such as my good self, then yeah, your chances of investment are pretty slim. So I decided I'm going to enter this competition, and it's actually quite generous. It's a grant that you can. So a grant means you don't have to repay it. So it's a grant up to £75,000 per business, and it's for women founders or women co-founders, and there are 60 grants available. So I'm basically telling whoever's listening, the one person who may have a late startup, because you have to have a late startup. If you have one, that maybe you would have time to apply. It's a bit tight because the closing date is the 4th of February. I've only just noticed this myself, so I'm kind of spending all the hours trying to get this application together. And the criteria are that you have to be within one of three sectors, one being digital and tech, which is the one that I'm entering in. Another is life sciences, and another one is advanced manufacturing. So if you have a product in any of those categories and you consider yourself at late stage startup phase, then you can apply. And so there are 60 of these grants, and I would imagine, just from a fairness point of view, I guess, but I don't know for sure, is that there'll be 20 available for each category. So in my sector, they've got 20 grants going. I would imagine that the digital and tech sector is the busiest of those. I can't imagine that advanced manufacturing is a oversubscribed sector. I don't know, but it could be. Maybe they look at the total of applications and then they weight in favour of whichever of those three categories has the highest number of applications. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to apply. It doesn't mean I would win, but I'm going to apply anyway, because if you're not in it, you can't win it, as they say. So this competition, the deadline is on the 4th of February, which is actually Wednesday. I keep thinking it's Tuesday, so I have a few days left. It's going to be quite a busy Saturday, Sunday and Monday, because I'd like to submit it on Tuesday and not have the same problem that happened to me last time with the AI Growth Hub. Just to let people know, if they are interested, it's for small and medium-sized businesses. You apply by the 4th of February, and if you are selected, then the funding would come to you on the 1st of July, and it's 12 months max of funding, but you also get 12 months of business advice from a bod who knows your sector or has experience in an adjacent sector or whatever. So you actually get that, which is probably worth more than the 75,000 when you think about it, because of the networking and the knowledge and maybe even the mentorship. I don't actually know to what degree you get this expertise, but anyway, so you get this package, and if you aren't successful at getting the grant, you may still be successful at getting the business advice. So it's kind of win-win if you're accepted in either of those two programs. A late stage startup, I don't know what that would consist of in terms of advanced manufacturing and life sciences, because they're not my forte. But in terms of tech, if you were producing, say, an application, that would mean you were at minimum viable product stage, and you would have users. You don't have to have customers, but you should have users who have an interest in your product. So the product I'm submitting for this this competition is the exact same one that I'm pitching for the sandbox to the AI Growth Hub, because it's actually a standalone product from the product I'm actually creating for directors. So this is the directors app that I have is not at an MVP stage at the current time. It's almost, but not quite. Whereas this substrate of that directors app is at a post actually MVP stage. So I'm going to apply on that basis. And what else can I tell you? Oh, so yeah, you have to do that. You have to know that where your product sits in the marketplace. So you have to kind of be aware of customers, markets, and stuff like that. So I tick that box in my head as well. And that there has to be a realistic market opportunity for your product. And more importantly, it has to be an innovation. So it has to be something that doesn't yet exist anywhere, or it can be an improvement on something that exists already. But it can't be just a random sort of competitor product to what's out there that just has the odd feature that's different. So this is, in my case, a new category we're creating. And so we definitely comply with the requirement for innovation. So there's that. And then the fourth thing is that you have to have started to think about forming a team. And that is something I've thought about. I don't know what constitutes thinking about starting doing something, but I've been thinking about starting, but I haven't started, if you know what I mean. So I kind of need to make that more concrete and give that more thought. The application form is quite involved. Lots of questions. Some are 400-word questions, some are 300-word questions. I'm the kind of person that will try and squeeze in 299 questions and 300 if I can in an application. I have checked out all of the questions, because you're not issued with the document of all of the questions ahead of time. They are stages on an online form. And so you have to park. What I did was I parked notes for each of the answers, so that I know what to think about, because I get a lot of thoughts at night, but I can't write 300 words at night. I'm a morning person when it comes to execution. So I put the whole load of notes down, and then I copied and pasted the questions onto a sheet of paper, so that not on a sheet of paper, what am I talking about, into a Google document, and so that I can then go over those questions in the next few days, in the remaining next few days. I don't know, what am I saying? And I will be able to do that offline and then copy and paste those answers like I did for the Growth Hub online and submit that for next week. But the difficult questions are the financial questions, and you have to give obviously your project costs, and you have to be aware of these costs in order to fill in the form. So today I phoned a contact that I have who is a software engineer, and he gave me his advice on the types of professional service people that I would need to employ for my solution to get it from MVP to go to market, or GTM, from MVP to GTM. So he gave me his opinion, which was really helpful, and the costings for it. You can't use the funding for things like equipment, or, as I was hoping, a chair for someone who has rheumatoid arthritis. You can't use it for things like that. You have to use it for specific things that are not depreciable assets or something. I think I read that correctly. So I will be using it for things like, if I were to win, I would be using it for things like deployment costs and security and cloud storage and things like that on the infrastructure layer. And then obviously for professional services, so almost all of it, 90% of it in my case, would be spent on IT based service providers, so subcontracted. And you are supposed to use UK based subcontractors, which I will, but you are allowed to, if you give a reasonable response, you are allowed to subcontract overseas. I won't be doing that. I will be using local subcontractors because it's just easier on the same time zone, in the same language, meeting face to face if necessary, and so on. So the costings for that are quite difficult because you want to get 3 quotes from people and then take the average of the 3 and put that in your application. And anybody that I would be using the funding for, if I were to get the funding, would be a subcontractor, because I don't actually need full-time workers at the current time. It's kind of difficult because today, because you don't, in a software as a service, as a SaaS business, you don't really need a lot of people today because it's so automated. So most of your service provision would be by subcontractors. So it's interesting, you have to start talking about team building, but your team isn't going to be a large team anyway, initially. So yeah, that's what I've been dealing with this week. Next week, well, the first part of the week will be efforts expended in trying to get this application in by 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning. So when you have a deadline and it's a morning deadline, it's kind of much harder to think of Wednesday as the deadline, because you're really pushing it if you're having to get it in before 11 a.m. Anyway, so that's been my week. Next week, I haven't even thought about next week, to be fair. There's too much going on at the current time. I will be here next week giving my 5th week's report. And I'm very tired today. It's been a long day, long week. And hopefully next week I will be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and more engaged and not so forgetful, although the not so forgetful I can't really promise. And we'll have more to explain and maybe help other people who are on this journey. Thank you for listening, if you are listening, and have a good weekend, and I will be here next week. Goodbye all.